the Versus Series Debate League. Welcome to the ring where the minds go clash, truth gets tested and ego smash. No ducking, no running, just facts and flame. This is the Versus League, respect the name. Neo One Love, Bible believer, wild and precise. Breaks down the word like he's throwing dice. Most dangerous. Facts say it's true. He'll hit you with the text, then hit you with a 1-2, LP, the pastor, that's Southern Heat. Preaching Christ with a rhythm and a militant beat. Heru conscious with history and math. He'll burn down a lie with a scientific path. Hemi, a beast with a biblical blade. Swings on the set like his judgment day made. Michael Everett, man of every domain. Come with logic, he'll counter your brain. Courtney T, got a scholar's mind, critiques the text line by line. Fit Barber, a one the Bible breaker, twisting the text, flipping them verses like spiritual texts. Bosco, the Freemason, an Israelite bold, got codes on codes from stories untold. Brother Koo, the Kemetic king, drops Seba gems that make temples sing. Quinn, the sister, got scripture and soul, wisdom and layers, digging deep in your soul. Issa, a Moor with that Islamic stance, moves in silence but strikes by chance. Brother Gabriel, teacher, high-level flame, he'll preach, teach, and still bring the game. Doc Too Sweet, the content queen, going viral when she say just one thing. Pan, the champ, belt on his waist, the undisputed king of this debate race. Craig and Craig, the lawyers of war, built this league for intellectual war. They laid the bricks, they mapped the frame. This versus thing, it bears their name. This not for the weak, so coward best take flight. This is where we come to have a fact fight. Salute to HOK respect where it's due. They sparked this fire we're bringing to you. So grab your books, your faith, your step in this ring if you're ready to dance. Cause this ain't just talk, it's my poetic flame. Where only the truth will remember your name. It's Paradigm Shift TV 314. We got some powerful shows in store. To the so-called competition, best steer clear, cause the truth stays here.
Welcome to Paradigm Shift TV 314. This is your brother, DMG the Poet, and we got a powerful contest for y'all. Two of the best debaters we have, the reigning, defending social media champ, Doc Too Sweet, and the real Lion's Den champion, the pseudo slayer, Cedric Ortega. Now, for those who don't know, my man Cedric was crowned the real Lions Den champion when he defeated JJ7K right here on this channel. The plan was to make this a more prestigious title than the last platform that had it. Because our man Cedric had it, we figured we could have some more high-profile debates with some of the more notable names like the Slim Reaper and Lex Vortex, and that's still the plan. But right now, the pseudo slayer is seeking to unify titles with Doc Too Sweet. For those of you who don't know, she made Neftali jump on the floor and start pounding it like a toddler. She ran through the social media division tournament. I believe she defeated our man Michael Everett and TKO, Corey Dawson. So she earned that joint. Now, both titles are on the stage and somebody gonna leave with two belts. The question is, which one of these individuals will it be? Now, that being said, y'all know the rules for the Versus series. Each participant has a 3-minute opener. They will then go into the 10-minute round session where they have one round to provide their argument, a second round to rebut their opponent's argument. Now, they can also continue to build up on their argument. That's no big deal. But Very important to remember, you only got 10 minutes each. Then we go into everybody's favorite part of the Versus series, the chin check session. That's where each participant will have 10 minutes to ask their opponent as many questions as they can within that time. And then they'll each have 3 minutes to close this thing out with closing statements. So we're going to jump right in. Any issue on who going first? I don't know who the affirmative and who the negative was in this thing, but whoever, what's the order we going in?
I'm going first, and so I go last in the Q&A round because I'm in the affirmative.
That's correct. She knows the Versus series rules quite well. And that being said, your opening 3 minutes will start when you start talking.
Oh wait, and I could share my screen too on this part, or this is?
Yeah, share your screen.
All right, hold on. Did you hear that? Was anything playing?
No, I don't see you on the screen yet.
It say I'm sharing.
Wait a minute. I got you. Here we go. Okay.
Oh, okay. So I don't think the audio is working. So I'll deal with that later. But I just want to say,
you can hear it, but it's real faint, sis. You want to?
You can hear me.
I can hear you, and I can hear your screen faintly.
Oh no, just I'm gonna just get that. I'll do that after the debate.
Okay, you want your time to start?
Yeah, you can start now.
All right, time starts.
All right, peace everybody in the chat, even though I'm not in there right now. Thank you all for joining. As you can see, the title of this debate is Were Astrology and Astronomy Once the Same? It was supposed to say once the same discipline because that was the discussion. For anybody who missed the face-off, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to get too deep into it because my opponent was more focused on a slander campaign than the actual topic, which is part of the reason why I know I have this in the back. He didn't ask me any questions about the topic. He assumed a lot, and he wasn't very versed on the topic. And once I knew that we were going to have the debate, I pretty much knew that it wouldn't be too difficult to prove my case. So as someone who has been a student of astronomy for over 30 years, I thought this was basic knowledge, but clearly it was not. I also do lend my ear to astrology, but the argument is not whether astrology is scientific because I never said it was. Obviously, it's considered a pseudoscience, but the ancients saw it a little bit differently. So that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about.
What happened?
I don't know.
Let me stop this time.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. Let me try to get up back on her. Okay, we got her back.
That was weird. Everything just shut down out of nowhere.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, I
All
didn't
right,
touch anything.
let me back you. I'm gonna back you up because I didn't stop it when you first went off. So it's at 122. Let's go to one. Let's go to like 135. You good with that, sir?
Yeah, that's fine. I was about to wrap it up in a second anyway. I know this only the intro.
All right. Time starts when you start.
All right, cool. So I don't know where it cut me off or where I left off, but I was basically explaining that what I'm going to do here today is talk about how the ancients viewed what we call astrology and astronomy and the absolute fact that these two disciplines did not split until later on in history. Originally, they were considered one discipline. The same person who read the heavens was the same person who mapped the heavens. And again, I thought everybody knew this, but I'm happy to share it today, and hopefully we all learned something new today.
All right. Set it at 3 minutes, and then we'll go over to him. All right, Sid, you had 3 minutes. Time to start when you start.
When you see my screen, let me know.
Give me 1 second. All right, I got it.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here this evening. In this debate, I will be establishing 2 key points. First, that astronomy, defined as a systematic observation and recording of celestial phenomena, predates astrology, which is the interpretive application of those observations for divinatory or personal purposes. And second, that the two were never conceptually one and the same, even in their earliest forms. Now, let's begin with the facts. Long before humans looked at the stars for omens or birth signs, they tracked the heavens to mark seasons, guide agriculture, and align ritual calendars. The oldest records of Mesopotamia, such as the Venus tablets of Amasidiqua, date back to the 2nd millennium BCE and are purely astronomical. These texts are lists of planetary appearances, not horoscopes. They show observations without interpretations, data gathering without divination. This is astronomy in its earliest form, empirical, systematic, and practical. Astrology, by contrast, emerged later and in stages. Personal horoscopy, the kind most associated with astrology today, doesn't appear until the Hellenistic period, well over 1,000 years after Mesopotamian star charts. Even celestial divination in early Mesopotamia was distinct from astronomy. It was filtered through religious and magical framework, while astronomical records remained empirical and utilitarian. My opponent may try to collapse these distinctions by claiming astrology and astronomy were always intertwined or developed together. That is a convenient fiction, not a historical fact. This kind of reasoning rests on speculation, not scholarship. It is a favorite tactic in pseudoscientific circles. Blur definition, cherry-pick vague sources, and hope the audience doesn't notice the sleight of hand. Francesca Rashberg, one of the leading experts in ancient Mesopotamian science, makes it abundantly clear in her book, The Heavenly Writings. The ancient scribes who recorded the movements of the planets were not astrologers in the modern or even Hellenistic sense. They were astronomers, scientists of their time, documenting observable patterns, not reading fates. So in the 2 upcoming rounds, I will demonstrate precisely what I've laid out here today. First, that astronomy predates astrology in both development and purpose. And secondly, the two were never conceptually unified, even when practiced alongside each other. While my opponent leads on speculation and scientific revisionism, I stand firmly on the side of historical evidence and scholarly integrity. With that, I yield the floor.
All right. That was right at the 3-minute mark. So we're going to reset the clock for 10 minutes. Doc Too Sweet, we're going to turn it back over to you. Cedric, you want to unshirt? There you go. And your 10 minutes will start when you're ready. If you want to share the screen, let me know.
Let's see. Yep. Give me 1 second. 1 second. All right. why it's not sharing the audio, but I'm gonna click it anyway. Alrighty, you can see my screen and hear me and everything?
Yep. And let me give you a suggestion. You might want to put it on a slideshow. But make sure you can go to your next slide and see if it changed, because sometimes that don't be happening. All right, it did change. So time to start when you're ready.
All right, I'm gonna start now. So everyone who can see my screen, one of the easier sources for anyone to go to is astronomy.com, obviously a leading authority on astronomy, and they tell you astrology and astronomy were once the same discipline, but science has since moved on. Now, I heard everything said in his first initial statement, but a lot of that is actually not true, and I have sources to show that. So, first of all, let's set the scene, right? So imagine you're living in Mesopotamia in ancient times, you're in the desert, you're looking at the sky. There's a lot going on up there. If you want in-depth information about a topic, what do? You consult the experts on that topic. In this case, the experts would be the ancient scientists, astrologers, astronomers themselves. This is exactly what I have done here to drive the point home that the ancients did not differentiate astrology from astronomy. Modern science and the scientific revolution are the reason for the split. Imagine laying out in a desert, seeing a sky teeming with unfathomable celestial phenomena. The ancients had no light pollution, no TV, and no modern technology like radioscopes or computers. What they possessed is far greater. They had access. But first, let's get this context going, right? Because if you're missing context, then you're missing the point. You remember those reading comprehension skills when you were, or reading comprehension tests when you were in school? Well, they were there to teach you reading comprehension skills, and clearly we have a misunderstanding going on here. So that's why I'm here to clear up today. Unfortunately, too many people didn't fare well on those tests, and this is where we get debates and arguments and people not understanding each other. So, also, what is negativity bias? So modern humans seem to feel that they are the apex of everything, that we're smarter than the ancients, we know more than they do. And that's just part of the negativity bias that humans naturally have. You could probably go back through this later to read this, but I want to get to some definitions here, right? So my opponent, unfortunately, he always thought that astrology meant zodiacal signs and things like that, but that's not true. So what is cultural context? It's the beliefs, values, attitudes, and norms of the society that shape how people think, feel, act, and interact. Why is that important? Because we have to look at how the ancients viewed these things from their perspective and not ours. The Akkadians actually did not have a word for astrology or astronomy, and that is in Dr. Roseberg's book, where she talks about this. And the reason they didn't have a separation of the two is because the same person who was the astrologer was the astronomer. They were one discipline. And as you can see, the words, the etymologies break down here. Even in the Greek, astronomia means star ranging and was used in Greece for astrology and astronomy. That's Hoskins et al., 1999. And then I go on to talk about the reason you know your sun sign or what house your Venus is in is because of the ancient Mesopotamians who were the innovators when it came to astrology, which just means studies of the stars. It has nothing to do with zodiacs until the Greeks came in later. Again, my opponent is not very versed in this topic, so he didn't know that. So again, cultural context. How did the Chaldeans, the Babylonian astrologers, view astronomy and astrology? Professor Rothberg writes, whether or how to differentiate between astrology and astronomy is strictly a matter of convenience when describing the context of a text from the cuneiform corpus of celestial science. There are no native Akkadian counterparts to the terms astrology or astronomy. So again, my opponent mentioned that there were these astronomical texts, but in the ancient terms, there was no separation of either. Even the distinction between these terms is applied from late antiquity through the Middle Ages. vary from one author to another and did not necessarily imply a difference in status such as we make between science and magic. So this is not me making this up. This is not me being pseudo. This is me referring to the professionals and what they have to say about it. So here's another article by Fales, who says, and he uses in astrological, astronomical terms, putting them together, and here in highlighted in yellow, consultation of the vast compilation of omens called Enuma, Anu, and Lil, and the drawing of conclusions relating to the state of the empire and the royal dynasty. So imagine if you're an ancient living in these times, everybody was pretty much religious. They believed in God. They believed in
5 minutes.
Gotcha. So to suggest that anybody in ancient times was doing these things purely for astronomical value, they're not being honest. So why would anyone deny that astronomy and astrology developed in tandem? Mostly lack of knowledge. Since modern science has made a clear distinction between the two, modern humans forgot to add cultural context to the discussion. List all of these places listed here are all astronomical sites all over the world, and every single one of them has some type of religious undertone. Anyone who denies this is not being truthful. What does that mean? That means that when they did their astronomical work, there was always interpretation of what was happening. As a matter of fact, the one of my slides I'm gonna get to, it shows that the Cambridge history of concise history of astronomy says that astronomy was actually born out of astrology, because they would look at the stars and look at the heavens and they wanted to find out what they meant. Göbekli Tepe, one of the oldest astronomical sites, they talk about Pillar 43, which has a constellation, and Andrew Collins talks about this and how these were not only used for astronomical sites, but for astrological as well, to read the heavens. Let's get back to words. The etymology of astrology, what does it say? Astrologia, astronomy, the science of the heavenly bodies. Why do they put them together in ancient times? Because they were never separate like that. Like we think, the way that we think of them as separate, that's not how they were. It says originally identical with astronomy and including scientific observations and description. Again, not my words, these are the experts. Again, another article that talks about how astrology came about and how it was intertwined with astronomy. Journal of Planetary Science, again, the experts. The idea that astronomy is a separate to astrology appears to have been largely unknown in non-Western pre-modern cultures. Y'all see the sources. I'm not making any of this up. This is what I've always known as a novice astronomer. The word, again, astronomia, astrologia were used interchangeably. Again, more to the point. The leading authority on Mesopotamian astrology notes there is further potential terminological problems in applying astrology to Hellenistic Greek theories of stellar influence and fatalism, which does not share a common cosmological or methodological basis with Greek astrology. Again, he misunderstood. He did not know this is separate from Greek astrology. Also, here we go again. Etymology, astronomy, astrology, scientific or occult study of heavenly bodies. They were always one.
2 minutes.
The same. And again, all of this has to be looked at under a cultural context. Oh, look, encyclopedia.com, astronomy and space science. Astronomy emerges from astrology. More sources. I'm not making any of this up. Because of time, I'm going to keep going through this, but y'all can go back and see it yourself. I'm not making this up. This is continued. The twin disciplines, astronomy and astrology, had a common origin in ancient Babylonia between 3000 and 2000 BC. He brought up the second millennium BC. Well, this tells you right here that going back further, they saw the two disciplines as one. Is astrology a Greek invention? It is not. Look at you see down here, highlighted, astrology, archaic. It was seen as astronomy. It was always the same. Not making this up. We have celestial divination, then astrology and astronomy, and then they separated later in the 17th century. Again, Britannica. All these sources agreeing with me because I'm not making any of this up. Here's another list of sources saying everything I'm saying. Napa Playa, one of the oldest archaeological astronomical places, also had ceremonial and ritual meanings. It wasn't just for astronomy. They were looking for meaning. And this is just more to the point. And my last slide.
All right, should I stop your time at 14 seconds? You got that?
What'd you say? How much is left?
You have 14 seconds. I didn't know if you wanted to use that, or did you concede, because you kind of faded out that last little part. So I didn't know if you was done or if you was gonna keep going.
Oh, I could just use them 14 seconds real quick to stress the fact that my opponent is saying things that are not true. All my sources here have shown what I have been saying this whole time, and I hope everybody caught everything.
All right. There it is. We're gonna reset the clock at 10 minutes. Cedric, it's on you. Your time will start when you start.
Okay. Start my time. I'm gonna need you to pause it after this. Here you go. Worshipping celestial bodies or assigning them meaning means they practice proto-astrology. Deification is not divination. The deification of the sun and moon reflects religious or mythological cosmology, not systematic divinatory practices. I told you, careful for the bait and switch, like astrology. There is a critical difference between saying the sun is a god, religion, myth, ritual, and saying the sun is in Leo, so you'll marry soon, astrology. Oh boy. Francesca Rosebud, the heavily writing 2004. The divinatory use of celestial phenomena, astrology, emerged as a specific system of interpretation distinct from mythological or theological ideas about the heavens. Their religious views of the heavens precedes astrology, but it's not equivalent to it. Rosberg, page 23. Yes, cosmic deities existed early, but these are religious symbols, not astrological tools. Astrology requires a codified system of omens, consistent planetary meaning, and rules of interpretation. This emerged much later, around the second millennium BCE. Early ritual astronomy, sorry, is not predictive astrology. Stop my time. Stop my time.
All right. Time is stopped at 8 minutes and 36 seconds.
All right. And then I'm going to need you to reshare my screen and let me continue the proper way. Let's go. Are we ready?
Time restarts when you start.
When we look up at the stars, we are tapping into a tradition that goes back tens of thousands of years. But was it science or superstition that came first? Despite modern confusion between astrology and astronomy, the historical and archaeological record is clear. Astronomy came first as a practical, empirical endeavor long before astrology arose as a symbolic divinatory practice. Now, let's look at ancient Egypt. Interesting that you would start there. Astronomy before astrology, 5000 BCE. Early observation of the heliacal rising of Cyrus used to predict Nile flooding. Astronomy, 2700 BCE. The pyramids aligned very precisely to true north using circumpolar polar stars like Mizra. Again, astronomy, 2100 BCE. The use of diagonal star clocks in coffin lids. Astronomy, 1500 BCE. The star charts appear in the Senenmut's tomb. Astronomy, only in the 4th and the 1st century BCE do you see Greek-style horoscopic astrology arriving. This is, if you do the math, ladies and gentlemen, you'll know the difference. Astronomy, the earliest root, again, Doctah, Playa, Egypt, date 5500 BC. This Neolithic site predates Stonehenge by 2,000 years. It features megalithic alignments with the summer solstice, likely used for calendrical and seasonal tracking. This was proto-astronomy, observational knowledge used for agriculture, ritual, and societal planning. To quote E.C. Krupp in The Echoes of Ancient Skies, 1983, Noptoplaya represents the earliest known example of deliberate astronomical alignment to calendrical use. Astronomical. Egyptian astronomy was originally functional, tied to agriculture, architecture, and ritual timing. Astrology entered Egypt over 4,000 years later, the same how during the Hellenistic period, but Babylonian and Greek influence. By Babylonian and Greek influence, the calendar of the ancient Egypt is purely astronomical in character. The only apparent astronomical concept is the heliacal rising of Sirius, which obtained its importance only by its closeness to the rising of the Nile, the main event of life for the Egyptians, necessity. That is Otto Neubauer, the Exact Science in Antiquity, the second edition, page 82. Look it up. Now, the origins of astrology, the source, the Imanu, Anun, Elil, and Mesopotamia. It dates 3,000 plus years later, the 1800s in Old Babylonian period. A series of 70 cuneiform tablets documenting celestial events, eclipses, planetary motions, events were interpreted as omens, especially concerning kingship, warfare, and disasters. You can look at the traits, but I'm going to quote Koch Westhal's Mesopotamian Astrology in 1995. Astrology arose as a part of a divinatory practice interpreting celestial phenomena as divine messages. Now, lo and behold, the chronology in Mesopotamia, again, astronomy before early dynastic, 2900 BCE. Basic sky watching, lunar, solar cycles, tracking agriculture and rituals. Astrology, yes. Astronomy, no. Old Babylon, 2000, that's 900 years later. The Venus tablets, like I mentioned in my opening. Systematic Venus observation, calendar correction.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Yazite, 1600 BC. You get refinement of lunar calendar. Now we're tracking the eclipse. Now you start to see some proto omen beginning, but not systematic. Now, in 300 plus years later, you see star categories, for example, 3 stars, each planetary tracking, growing mathematical modeling. Now you get the Immanuel omens based on the eclipses, which they were working on 500 years prior. I think everyone gets the drift. Astronomy before astrology. Astronomy in Mesopotamia was first and foremost a rational observation of science used to track time, guide agriculture, and forecast eclipse. Astrology emerged later as a divinatory overlay, not a co-origin, claiming they were one and the same, ignores the long empirical roots of astronomy and the later symbolic turn to astrology. To quote Herman Hunger and David Pingree, the distinction between astrology and astronomy is more than just a modern imposition. The astrological texts are clearly observational and computational. Roseberg, again, to quote her, horoscopy is a product of late Babylonian period, no earlier than the 5th century BCE. So they were not the same. James Evans, the historian of science, in Mesopotamia, the distinction between astrology and astronomy can already be seen in the first millennium BCE. Astronomical ephemerides were mathematical and predictive, not symbolic. The history and practice of ancient astronomy, 1998. I could quote Naurenberger, but that would just be overkill. You can read it there. It is clear that mathematical astronomy, as developed in the Seleucid period, had no need for astrological interpretation. It was a self-contained scientific system. Let's go. Now, let's put the comparison. The earliest form of astrology, 5500 BC. The earliest form of astrology, 1800 BCE. Look at the dates here. That is over how much years? Do the quick math. One is proto-scientific calendric, and much later you get divinatory theocracy. Astronomy is thousands of years older, rooted in practical needs, agriculture, navigation, ritual timing. Astrology emerged much later, focused on symbolic meaning and divine will. Why is this important? Some claim astrology and astronomy were always intertwined. You heard it. Or that astrology is the parent of science. You also heard that. But equating early observational astronomy with astrology rewrites history. Even Francesca Rosberg, a key scholar cited by astrology proponents, is clear. Astrology was not a science of cause, but of science. The Heavenly Writings 2004. Astrology was never scientific in origin. It didn't try to understand how the universe worked. It tried to divine meaning from the heavens, often for political power. So now
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Let's round it off again without any shadow of a doubt. And astronomy came first. Astronomy, now Doctah, 5500 BCE, practical, observational, proto-scientific. Astrology, the Emmanuel, 1800, divinatory, symbolic, non-empirical. 3700 years difference between them. How are they the same? Astronomy emerged from necessity. Astrology emerged from belief. The stars were studied long before they were spiritualized. The cosmos inspired wonder, but it was measured long before it was mythicized. And don't forget, I started this round off by rebutting a misconception. Like I told you, the bait and switch was going to happen. Divination is not deification. Yes, ritual deification came first, but the concept, that's why I read what the premise was for what astrology was, and it began no later than the 1800s. In my second round, I'll show you that not even the Greeks consider them one and the same in the second century CE. With that, I yield the floor.
All right. You sure you want to yield? You got 41 seconds left.
Nah, I'm good.
All right. We'll reset the time at 10 minutes. Turn it over to the social media champion, reigning and defending, the good Dr. Too Sweet. Are you going to share your screen, Doc?
Yep. You should see it already.
All right. Screen is shared. Time will start when you start talking.
All right. So yeah, I have to just take a moment here because this is a little too easy. So this source, this Professor Roseberg, where I actually did have correspondence with, we had a great conversation, and the thing about it is, when you read a book, there's a thing called a preface, right? And that's why I brought up contextual clues and why context matters. So again, as you see on my screen, let me make it bigger. Professor Roseberg prefaces her book by letting you know that whether or how to differentiate between astrology and astronomy is strictly a matter of convenience. So when she's talking about astrology there, where my opponent mentioned, she's actually talking about later Greek astrology. And as we can see here, hold on, when you go to the etymology of these words, the reason why they are the way that they in the Greeks, there was one word for both practices. Also, now I mentioned Doctah, right? People look at that as one of the oldest astronomical sites, but the reality is Göbekli Tepe is much older. It was created in about 9500 BC. I'm looking for the slide that has that. And in Göbekli Tepe, it was an astronomical site, but we know that they used it for reading the heavens, trying to gain knowledge from celestial signs. And let me see. Oh yeah, here I talked about that too, because so my opponent is trying to separate the ritual part and the quote unquote religion part from reading omens, but the ancients literally saw the heavens as signs from God. That is what motivated them to want to calculate and measure. And of course, they used it for agricultural practical uses, but that was not all. So to assume that they only use it for that is just an assumption. Oh, that's what I was going to go back to Tepe. Oh, and again, so all my sources, like I have encyclopedias, I have the Britannica, I have the Cambridge Concise History of Astronomy, which again agrees with me and does not make a distinction between the two. Um, this talks about astronomy and astrology having a common origin in ancient Babylonia between 3000 and 2000 BC. Even with Nafta Playa, they didn't leave any written records, but we know that they were a cattle worshiping cult. We know this for a fact. So again, to assume that they had these astronomical sites purely for practical reasons it's not scientific at all. Part of this article here, which I chose a lot of them because they're easy to access for people to see for themselves, that I'm not making any of this up, and to make the connection. All of my sources talk about occurring over centuries, a gradual separation of astrological and astronomical beliefs culminated in 16th century in the work of German astronomer and astrologer Johannes Kepler. Kepler, Galileo, Copernicus, all of these men practiced astronomy as well as astrology because they were seen as one thing up until about their time. Where is my Hold on. My daughter keeps asking me.
You need your time stop?
Yeah, pause it for 1 second.
Time to stop at 5:22.
All right, and you can restart it again.
Time starts.
Okay, because I was trying to do a lot of different things at one time. Okay, because I'm trying to rebut a lot of the things that he was saying, because he's basically mulling over the fact that the reasons, like for instance, the Egyptians, when they calculated like Sirius was rising, all of this was done because it was symbolic of their gods and their beliefs. And I mentioned here how even in the Bible in Daniel 2:2, where King Nebuchadnezzar goes to consult the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and everybody else, the reason they're all in one category is because they were all seen as the same. Oh, it must be on an earlier slide. Hold on. No, not there. Hold on. Oh yeah, so this is what I was wanting to bring up. So the reason we know that Göbekli Tepe was not only used for an astronomical site is because of the symbols that were left on the pillars there. And again, in ancient times, there were no atheists. There very, very rarely was anybody an atheist. So obviously they're looking for signs and symbols in the sky and the weather patterns and anything that's going on. So again, to assume that they we're only using these for astronomical sites is just not correct. To say that it's proto-astrology, it's not proto-astrology, because all astrology is looking at the heavens to gain understanding from what's going on, and all of that emerged from looking for meaning out of the stars. So again, etymology online tells us this: originally identical with astronomy, astrology, and including scientific observation and description, there's no distinction between the two, and never was, or in ancient times until later, until the 17th century when everything split. And the reason I brought up cultural context is because we're not talking about Greek astrology. We're talking about reading the heavens, which is what the ancients always did. There was never a time where they were not reading the heavens to gain understanding from them. Again, this is Professor Roseberg herself, where he's trying to say what she's saying in later context, but she says here, there's further potential terminological problem in applying astrology with its associations to Hellenistic Greek theories of stellar influence and fatalism, to the Babylonian material, which does not share a common cosmological or methodological basis with Greek astrology. They're not the same. So saying they are is not true. And here we have but I would argue the term astrology may be used as a general rubric for Mesopotamian astral and genesiological omens, as well as for the Babylonian horoscopes, without conflating these with later forms of Greek astrology, some of which in fact are the legacy of ancient Mesopotamian tradition. And the reason we keep going back to Mesopotamia is because they are the first culture to have the historiographical records,
2 minutes.
written records. Everybody else, we have to assume, like Nata Playa, like Gobekli Tepe. And what we have to do, because we don't have their own words, is we have to use inference from what they did leave behind, which shows that they actually did look at the sky for meaning. Again, keep in mind there was no word for astrology or astronomy, since they were regarded as one science and known as celestial divination, the ancient art of interpreting the heavens. And let me see. Yep. Just keep going back to the ancient references. Again, anyone can see this here. I know before the 17th century, astrology and astronomy were most often considered a single pursuit. Astrology was classified as a form of applied astronomy, and its predictions were thought to be important in medicine and meteorology. So again, continue from the encyclopedia, continue from etymology online, Merriam-Webster dictionary. The reason there's a distinction of archaic astronomy under the definition for astrology is because in the archaic sense, they were interchangeable. Again, Rothberg is saying this about astrology and astronomy. She's not saying that they were never one discipline. And again, it started with celestial divination. Every ancient culture saw the stars in the heavens as some way for the gods to communicate to them. It turned into astrology and astronomy, and then they separate in the 17th century. This is what we know from the record. This is what we know from the history of astrology and astronomy. And yeah, how much time I got left?
That is time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. When you asked the question, it was like 2 seconds left. So, all right. Share your screen.
Wow.
We'll reset it at 10.
So when my time, okay.
And for the future, I just want to ask this question. If I'm gonna keep doing it for this debate, but just in future reference, if my telling y'all 5 minutes, 2 minutes, or is too distracting with regards to y'all doing y'all thing, let me know. And then the next debate and going forward, I'll stop doing that.
I have no problem with it.
Gotcha. All right, timer. You got 10 minutes in for your second round. Time to start when you start.
All right. She did everything I told you she would do in the opening round. Okay, but let's go. We have established, I'll rebut this, I'll rebut all those claims just in a bit. We've established that astronomy predates astrology by thousands of years. Now we will examine how they differ fundamentally. She's misusing scholars, and I'm going to show you. I told you they would do that, misquote scholars. Now let's go deeper into astrology, how astrology emerged, and why is it not and never was co-equal to astronomy. First, astrology is entirely dependent on earlier astronomical work. The Babylonians around the 2nd millennium BCE had developed highly sophisticated astronomical charts recording planetary movement, eclipses, and stellar patterns. Their work was empirical, systematic, and mathematically precise. As I showed you clear timelines, chronology with dates. Astrology only emerged after this as an interpretation layered on top of real astronomical data. Historian Nicholas Campos notes astrology in its origin was not a rival to astronomy, but a metaphysical application of astronomical data. Of course, if they didn't have the word astronomy or astrology, how these are modern conceptions that we are applying to know this and see the distinction, which was clearly there. Astrology couldn't even exist without the foundation of real astronomical observations to interpret. Secondly, where astronomy sought prediction through measurements, astrology sought prediction through superstition. Fundamentally distinct. You would not be able to unify them. Astronomy can tell you when an eclipse will happen. As you see, they established that 600 years before they interpreted. Astrology can claim that the eclipse means your king will die. One clearly came after the next. One is verifiable, repeatable science, and the other is an unverifiable metaphysical guess, as astrophysicist Carl Rogan famously said. Astronomy is a science, the study of the universe as it is. Astrology is a pseudoscience, a claim to influence without mechanism, without validation, and without predictive power. The same how. Third, astrology consistently failed the test of evidence. Throughout history, when astrologers made predictions about harvest, war, or individuals' fates, there was no statistical success above random chance. Multiple empirical studies from Roman times to the 20th century has confirmed this. Meanwhile, astrology continued advancing, predicting eclipses, charting planetary orbits, calculating the precision of the equinoxes like Hippocrates did in the 2nd century BCE. Astrology stagnated into myth. Okay, now, even ancient intellectuals recognize the distinction. The Greek philosopher Sextus Empiricus in the 2nd century CE wrote, as 1700s, no, 2nd century CE wrote, the astronomers merely observe heavenly motions. The astrologers pretend to predict human affairs from them, a baseless art. The two fields were seen as separate. Astronomy respected, astrology dismissed. Finally, astrology dependence is total and its credibility is zero. Without astronomy, there is no astrology. Without astrology, astronomy marches on, unbothered, uncontested. Thus, to claim that astronomy and astrology were one and the same from the beginning ignores history, ignores evidence, and ignores intellectual asymmetry between them. Across cultures, early astronomy was observational and practical, concerned with timekeeping and seasons. You can infer what you want, like I said you would do, but where's the evidence? You're going to have to provide me evidence that there is astrology taking place at Doctah Playa. I want to see a scholarly source. Astrology has a symbolic interpretation of human affairs based on celestial evidence emerged later and separately. Clive Ruggles' Handbook of Archaeoastronomy 2015. Astronomy is the original. Astrology is a dependent misinterpretation. To quote Francesca Rosberg, it is incorrect to assume that astrology and astronomy were undistinguishable and antique. The production of astronomical knowledge was conceptual and practical, distinct from divinatory practices, even in Mesopotamia. Francesca Rosberg, The Heavenly Writings, Divination, Horoscopy, and Astronomy in Mesopotamian Culture, 2004, page 36. Can you stop my time, please? I want to share my next screen.
Time stops at 5 minutes and 3 seconds. 5 minutes and 3 seconds.
So now let's start with what I already explained. Now I'll have to slow it down. You start my time, right? Okay.
Yep.
Worshipping celestial bodies or assigning them meanings means they practice proto-astrology. Deification is not divination. So don't say it again, because now you're being pseudo. You just learned that you can't do that. The deification of the sun or moon reflects religious or mythological cosmology, not systematic divinatory practices like astrology. There is a critical difference between saying the sun is a god, religion, myth, ritual, and saying the sun is in Leo, so you'll marry soon, astrology. Source: Francesca Rosberg, The Heavenly Writing. The divinatory use of celestial phenomena, astrology, emerged as a specific system of interpretation distinct from mythological or theological ideas about the heavens. I mean, I have to say it again because, man, the religious views of the heavens precedes astrology, but it's not equivalent. Equivalent means the same to it. Rosberg on page 23. Yes, cosmic deities existed early, but they are religious symbol, not astrological tools. Astrology requires a codified system of omens, consistent planetary meaning, and rules of interpretation. This emerged much later, around the second millennium BCE in Mesopotamia. Again, to seal it up, early ritual astronomy, which you were alluding to, is not predictive astrology. Don't do it again. You're being disingenuous at this point. Stop it. Now, let's continue. A system that interprets celestial position and movement to infer influence over human affairs or natural phenomena, typically horoscope, omen list, or zodiac frameworks. Nicholas Champion, the history of Western astrology, stretching this to include any ritual, myth, or alignment involving the sky is a category error, confusing symbolism or reverence with astronomical deviation. Stop it. You're being category error. What Rosberg actually said. Whether or how to differentiate between astrology and astronomy is strictly a matter of convenience when describing the content of the text from the cuneiform corpus for celestial science. I apply these terms strictly to descriptive conveniences without further implications such as a narrative clarification existed, because they didn't have these distinctions. We are applying them to understand what was going on. This is how you do science. When you're a scientist, you would understand these things clearly. She clearly stated that the category of astrology and astronomy were not used by the ancients in the way we use them today. So be honest, her usage in modern and scholarly convenience, not a historical assertion. It couldn't be, because they didn't use either of the terms. And didn't you refer to Göbekli Tepe as an astronomical site? Wouldn't that push the date way back for astrology? Astronomy.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
United in the modern sense. You see, they weren't united in the modern sense. Rosberg is emphasizing that while ancient Mesopotamian texts contained both astronomical observations and astrological interpretations, they did not conceptualize these as modern scientific disciplines. In fact, modern Mesopotamian astrology functioned as a form of divinatory omen reading, not empirical science. According to historian of science James Evans, Babylonian astronomy was primarily mathematical and observational. You mentioned that they were mathematical and observational. That's astronomy, while astrology was religious and prognostic. They coexisted, but were conceptually distinct. James Evans, A History and Practice of Ancient Astronomy, Oxford University Press, 1998. So stop it, what you're doing. They were distinct. In modern science, astronomy is a falsifiable empirical discipline grounded in physics and mathematics. Astrology, by contrast, less textable, makes vague prediction, and fails under controlled scientific experiments. A philosopher of science, Karl Popper, states astrology is not falsifiable, right? Okay, my opponent is trying to collapse these two different traditions, one scientific, one mythical, by citing scholars like Francis Rosberg. But Rosberg herself clarifies that her use of the terms is purely descriptive and modern. Ancient texts did not treat astrology and astronomy as one science. They simply lack the modern distinctions. Conflating the two today is a misguided as calling alchemy and chemistry the same thing. You're a botanist and a witch doctor. They both use plants, but are they engaging in the same practice? Come on. Have some scholarly integrity. With that, I yield the floor.
All right. Sid had 5 seconds left. 5 seconds left on the clock. But this is where it's about to get real interesting. Let me reset the clock at 10 minutes. This is where it's about to get real interesting. Now, Doc went first in the round session, but this is the chin check session. That means each participant will have 10 minutes to ask their opponent as many questions as they possibly can within that time frame. It is the job of the person asking the questions to mind their time, because the person being asked can attempt to stall. However, the person asking the questions can say next question, or he can press, or she can press that individual on the question that they own. It's completely up to the person asking the questions. It's their 10 minutes to manipulate and play with as they see fit, and not give the control over to their opponent. With that being said, this is the most popular part of the show. Cedric, we're going to start with you. You have 10 minutes to ask the good doctor as many questions as you possibly can. Time starts when you start asking.
Yes, sir. Can you name a single archaeological site prior to 1000 BCE that shows evidence of astrological practice, not astronomy, but personalized or zodiac-based astrology?
Well, that's where you went wrong, because this was not about zodiac or.
No, I'm asking. I'm asking. Stop.
I just answered you.
No, you didn't answer.
You. Yes,
Can you name a single archaeological site prior to 1000 BCE that shows evidence of astrological practice? Yes or no?
So you're misunderstanding the astrology
Can
part.
you find one? Can you just answer the question? It's a yes or no question.
It was in my presentation.
It is a yes or no question. So that means no. No, stop.
Those are older. Yes, I did.
1,000 years before astrology appears. I quoted I quoted Mr. Krups, who stated clearly that it is the first astronomical site, right? That is used for directly.
It actually does. I mentioned in the article about not the prior, but
calendrical purposes. So we have the evidence
next
that
question.
500 BCE. We have evidence of astronomy. Do you have any evidence of astrology at this time?
Yep, and I showed.
No, you don't. Okay.
So they were using astrology.
If astrology, can you first?
The ancients all believed that the heavens influence everything.
So you're claiming that when the ancients looked up, and you did that without any evidence, just assuming. If astrology came first, how did it function without astronomical knowledge?
No, I did. I listened to sources. So go ahead.
Huh?
Well, in my source about astrology and.
So let me ask you another question.
Astronomy.
Why do Greek astrologers like Ptolemy separate astrology from astrology?
It talks about that. They wanted to find meaning from the heavens, so they needed more precise mathematical. Next question.
Versus Algamas. So even the Greeks made a distinction, and you saying that they were one and the same. They were not one and the same. And the ancients made a distinction.
That's after the Babylonians.
Do you clearly see here that the Greek astrologer Ptolemy, he separated astrology, tetrabiblios, from astrology, algames. Yeah. So how can you claim that the ancients didn't do it? And this is when is it with Ptolemy? He's around around the invention of astrology.
No, it wasn't separated until the 17th century, though. He wrote because they were both related.
No, stop. You're being disingenuous. I just read from the words of the Greek philosopher in the 2nd century BCE that clearly make the distinction between the two. So either you're lying or you're slow. Didn't you understand what was being said?
Either you don't understand the difference between Greek astrology and astrology. That's where your confusion comes in.
Rose's work that claims astrology predates astronomy. Can you show anything?
Actually, no. on the source that I showed in her preface, she tells you that distinction between the two is a matter of convenience, and she prefaces
And we
that because
understand that.
you're
We
talking about
understand that.
Greek astrology.
Real
Yes, and
scientists
you're
understand.
talking about
I need
Greek
you to stop.
astrologists.
Stop. It's
Yes,
my
I'm a
time. It's my
scientist, so
time.
I
I need you to
understand it.
stop. I need you to stop.
Mhm.
So we understand
Mhm.
that when we are looking
Mhm.
back and we are applying science, these are modern terms that we're using. However, it is clear
Yes.
by all the scholars that the
When you look
distinction
at the
was made
ancient
even by the ancients.
terms, it
So they
tells you that
coexisted,
they were
and
different.
one
They were
came
the
much
same.
later than the other. That you learned that tonight. If
That's
astrology,
Greek astrology.
we
No,
have a
that's Greek astrology came
astronomical
later.
alignment like
That's
Giza
only Greek
and Ghana
astrology.
over a
That's where your
millennium before the
confusion
first
was.
natal horoscope. So do you
Mhm.
actually
So do you have
understand?
a question?
Do you understand what astrology entails, right? So you need horoscopes, you need
No, I
different
think
information.
you
Like you
don't
self-admitted,
understand the difference
like didn't you admit
between Greek
that
astrology
it began it that astrology began
and
in
astrology,
Mesopotamia?
but that's why we're
Didn't
here.
astrology begin in Mesopotamia?
Are
Didn't
you
you
All
talking
right,
because
admit
you're
that?
all
breaking
right.
up?
I stopped the time at 5 minutes 58 seconds. Both of y'all talking at the same time. I
He's
need the
like breaking up.
question asked and the question answered.
So this is the question. Didn't you admit to that in Mesopotamia, and I provided the dates, this is first sign of astrology, where the first omens began around 1600 BCE. Didn't you admit to that? Yes or no question?
No, actually, I said
Didn't
that
you
it was the
admit to
only
that? So if
historiographical.
people
No,
look back, they'll see that you
did not.
miss. So I
It's the
put a
first
clear chronology. So what was going on
written,
at 2900
written.
BCE in Mesopotamia?
Wait,
What
you're
do we
breaking
have
up. What?
evidence of? What do we have evidence of taking place at 2900 BCE in Mesopotamia?
Is it,
Is there any evidence of astrology? No, there's no evidence of astrology
yes,
because the first
astrology, not
evidence,
Greek
no, there's
astrology.
not.
Not
No,
Greek
there's not.
astrology.
I
Not
showed
Greek
clearly the
astrology.
chronology. Now you're being disingenuous. The chronology was there. Why didn't you provide any
No,
date?
you're
Why didn't
being
you
very
provide any
disingenuous
clear
by preaching that the
chronology
ancients
for
All
your
didn't
right,
assign meaning to
all right.
celestial phenomena.
I'm I'm stopping the time yet again. I need y'all to keep this thing simple. Question asked, question answered.
There's like a delay or it's breaking
yes
up.
or no?
Can you hear me?
So
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? When he asked the question, you
Okay, I can
answer
hear
the
you.
question.
Hmm.
All we
I,
need
I
is the
did.
answer.
I clearly showed the
I did answer the
chronological
question.
development. Stop. I clearly demonstrated the chronological development of
And you skipped over a
astronomy
lot.
versus astrology in Mesopotamia. And we see 2900
Mhm.
up until 1600, you have over 1,000 years of astronomy before you have astrology. Isn't that a fact? Didn't you attest to that it is in Mesopotamia that
No,
you see first signs of astronomy, because that's where you see the first omen making?
no.
Oh, so you're
Next
still going to
question.
confuse deification with divination?
No,
You
you're
did.
confusing the two.
We
You're
saw the source.
confusing all of
We
this.
saw Rosberg and we saw
Yes.
Nicholas Campion clearly stating that there's a distinction. Deification is not divination. So probably you don't understand what the premises really are to talk about astrology, because calling the stars a god has nothing to do with astrology. So you're
No,
clearly missing.
because you're mixing up actually looking at the heavens and
No.
deriving
I read,
meaning.
I
The
read
religious
all
part is
the
something
sources.
different.
I read all the sources. Now, you said
Yes, I
that
did too.
there's evidence for astrology at Göbekli Tepe.
Mm-hmm.
Can you provide us with a scholarly source for that?
Pillar
What
43,
is the scholarly?
Andrew Collins wrote a whole
What is
book
the
about
scholarly?
Gobek. It's called, the book is titled Gobekli Tepe. The author is Andrew Collins.
No, I said, can you provide us with a source?
All right, listen, both parties. I'm hearing in the chat that we have a delay, which may be the reason y'all
See?
y'all overlapping when y'all talking. The question is, what end is it coming from? So if I can, I'm gonna leave the time at 3:38. I'm gonna have both of y'all go out and come back in. Because apparently it's disconcerting enough where I'm having several people in the chat saying they can tell.
All right, I'm gonna go out.
All right, family. So while they getting ready to come back in March or May 24th, I'm saying March, I'm trying to go back in time. May 24th, we got the undisputed, undefeated, distinguished world champion, Demas, the Pan-African atheist, going against the chief ambassador, LP, the Great. The title is on the line. So we got LP challenging Pan for the Versus Series world title. That is May 24th, 7 p.m. Central Time, right here on Paradigm Shift TV 314. The Versus Series is live in 2025. We got both parties back. Let's do a mic check.
Mic check, mic check.
I hear you loud and clear. Go ahead, Doc.
Oh, you can hear me? You can hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Chat. Let us know if y'all still hear a delay or if it's better. All right. Sid is still on you. Got 3 minutes and 38 seconds left. Time to start when you start.
What do you mean when you say they were one and the same? Do you believe myth and math are the same just because both use the stars?
Absolutely not. I just know that the ancients understood that the celestial events that they saw somehow influenced them on Earth. That was the whole reason they were keeping track in the first place. Even if the weather.
Stop. That right there is a pseudo statement. The reason early humans were tracking the stars was, like I indicated, it was a necessity for survival. They needed that to survive.
Right.
They weren't looking up in the stars. No, it's
right?
I'm talking right now. Please be quiet. So that was absolutely pseudo. Like you don't know what you're talking about. You assume that they were.
No, it's actually true. It's actually true.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And you can't prove that. You can't prove that. That's not true. We have evidence, right? Again, as you know why astronomy was necessary. The ancients used it for agriculture, navigation, architecture, not for fortune telling. So again, you
also to understand what was happening on Earth. That's why kings asked us.
Yet you have no evidence to support the claim. Like I told you, the folks in the beginning, watch out for the bait and switch. Watch out for the vague.
There was no bait and switch. You're just taking things out of context on purpose.
He's attempting to shoehorn deification into divination.
Not at all.
Now she's moving the goalpost, claiming that omens isn't one of the basic
because astrology. I showed in the etymology of the word what astrology is.
How the ancients didn't have those words, so using the etymology makes no sense. Those words only apply when we are looking back, and we can clearly see each scholar is
exactly that they were the same. That's why astronomy means astrology and astronomy.
What you're talking about. Why is the earliest known astrologers, Babylonian and Greek, already operate? Why do the earliest known astrologers, Babylonian and Greek, already operate with established astronomical systems if the astrology was either remoted or came first? Or
they were like Professor Rothberg said. There was no separation between the two.
So you didn't. So now you're going against the scholars because I clearly showed the chronological development. Do you need me to show that slide again? Do you need me to show the chronology clearly? That in 20
no, you don't need to show me anything because you're skipping over a lot. You really did.
And solar there was solar and lunar observation.
You practice scientism, not science.
BCE, you see them developing calendrical system. Only in 1600 BCE do you spray the first proto-signs. So you have 3,700 years of difference between an Aptaplaya, the first astronomical site, which is clearly stated by Dr. E. Krups.
Which they have ritualistic meaning because they were looking for omens in the sky.
BCE in Mesopotamia of astrology. Clearly two distinct practices. One clearly came before.
It's not Greek astrology. Astronomy and astrology were
never
together.
one.
That's why they were even developed. Yeah, actually, you have another question? You got 13 seconds.
The scholars with their own words. You're misusing the scholars. Everything I said.
Yeah, I have scholars too.
Is what you did.
That's not true.
So predict.
You're confusing.
That is time. We are resetting the clock to 10 minutes. It is now on the good doctor, the reigning defending social media champion, will now question the reigning defending real Lions Den champion. One of these individuals is walking away with 2 belts. The other one is going home empty-handed. We're going to see who it is. But for right now, it's on Doc Too Sweet. You got 10 minutes to ask as many questions as you can to the pseudo slayer. Time starts when you start.
I don't know if it's my signal or the connection or something, but it's like going in and out. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you perfectly fine. Go ahead.
Can you stop my time though? Because I just have to make sure.
Okay, time start.
Okay, hello? Can anybody hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, it's going in and out. I don't know if you're
Okay,
responding. Are you saying something?
Can you hear me?
all right, Doc, you want to, Doc, yeah, I stopped your
y'all hear
time.
me?
We can hear you. I stopped your time at 9:42. Go out and come back in and make sure your audio is connected.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna let her come back in, get her audio right. I don't know what's going on, but I did hear a little bit of feedback, so we're gonna let her come back in, get the audio right, hopefully, and go from there. The time is on the screen. It's at 9 minutes and 42 seconds. Since she never really got to ask a question, I'm gonna go ahead and start it at 10 minutes. All right, Doc, make sure your audio is connected. Go ahead and say something.
It's connected. Yeah, it's been connected this whole time, but can y'all hear me?
We hear you. Can you hear us?
Is it hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
It's crazy. DLG, say it, anybody. Can y'all hear me?
We hear you, Doc.
We hear you, Doc. Go ahead.
I don't know. Hello? Okay. Hello? Somebody say something.
Doc, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Okay, that was weird. All right. So let's go ahead and start my time. Okay, so my first question is because you keep trying to separate this idea that the ancients didn't look to the sky for omens. What do you think they thought the stars and planets were when they looked at them?
Okay, so again, no one ever made the claim that they didn't look at them for omens.
What do you think they were? Okay, what do you think the ancients thought
the develop, what we
wait,
see
stop, hold on.
at first their necessity for looking at the stars
Hold
was
on.
purely necessity for life. Eventually,
Hold on.
Eventually, they started to look at the stars.
Hold on.
Hold on, Doc.
Hold on, because I can't hear you.
Much later.
Stop talking.
I'm answering your question.
Stop talking.
All right, I paused.
No, but I didn't
paused,
hear nothing
paused
you
the
said.
time. I paused the time. Y'all was talking at the same time. So, ask question, answer question. I'm gonna start the time over.
Right. So again, what do you think the ancients thought the planets and stars were when they looked in the heavens?
See, again, you have to define what they looked at.
Answer the question. What do you think
chronology. Chronology is absolutely important. When they started
you're ignoring my question. Okay, moving on. We're gonna move on.
I'm answering your question. So they looked at the stars. They first ritualized it, and they made them divine gods. But omens and astrology came much later.
Time to stop at 8 minutes and 51 seconds. Time to stop at 8 minutes and 51 seconds. So again, I understand the contentions, the tension is high, but I need said she gonna ask the question, you answer the question.
Okay, I won't do it again.
All right, let me know when time will start. Doc, you ready?
And I just need it, like, how you wanted a yes or no What do you think the ancients thought the planets and stars were when they looked in the sky at night?
They thought they were heavenly bodies. And eventually, over thousands of years after
No,
they
no, no,
understood
no.
their
Okay, wait.
they attributed
Stop
spiritual meaning to it.
talking. So he's not gonna let me get through this at all. If I say stop talking, that means I got the answer I needed. We can move on. You need to pay attention. So
Let me
you
finish my
say
sentence.
you say heavenly bodies, but you're ignoring the fact that the ancients actually looked at the heavens as symbols of like gods and things. That's the religious part. But
Who is doing
help me
that? No, the
understand
debate is
why you think
astrology,
any of these
not
people why do you think these
not
people why do you
ritual
think these
astronomy.
people
It is not
why do you
deification.
think
The
that
debate
these
isn't
people
deification. The
why do
debate
you
is
stop
divination. So you're confused as to what the
we gonna
debate
be
is about.
if
Like
you
I
don't
already
stop talking
explained,
because stop talking
deification
said
is
stop
not
talking
divination. So
or
why are you
DMG stop my
continuously
time
All
insisting
right,
on
the time
DMG
arguing
is
about
stopped.
deification?
Time is stopped. Doc Too Sweet left. She said stop her time, then she left, it looked like.
He must have fell off.
Yeah, let's see if she's gonna come back. But the time was stopped at 8:52 when asked. So I don't know what happened. Sis is having some technical difficulties.
But since she's there, let me answer the question while the time is not running. She continuously asks me about ritual practices, and we continuously see by the sources themselves, you cannot assume that deification is divination. Divination starts with ritual omen and this sort of stuff, interpreting what the celestial body is doing. That is clearly starts in Mesopotamia, which my interlocutor self admitted to. What she didn't provide you with was time and dates, which I clearly did. So we can see when the first omens.
All right, we got Doc back. We got Doc back.
Listen, all right.
7
So here's
minutes
my thing,
and
right?
52
Okay,
seconds.
but hold on, DMG. This is what I need to happen, right? Because I'm in here in my house. I can't be yelling. I don't have the bass in my voice to overtalk this man. I don't know if you can mute him. If I say like, okay, I got my answer or move on or something like that, can there be some type of signal? Because he's very emotional right now. He's gonna keep trying to talk over me, and I can't get my questions out.
All right, listen. We got 7 minutes and 52 seconds left. Y'all each have one function. She asking the questions, you answering the questions. When she say move on, move on. If she pressing you on the same one, that's when you elaborate on the question. But if it's time for the next question, we go to the next question. Time starts when she start asking.
And you can hear me?
Yep.
Cool. So, said, why do you think Professor Rothberg prefaced her book by saying that distinguishing between astronomy and astrology is a matter of convenience? What do you think was her intent behind that?
Because, of course, that's a scientific endeavor that we're engaging in, and of course, like you said, the ancients didn't have these terminologies. So what we are doing is when we are looking back, we are putting these categories to distinguish and to see if there's a distinction between the two. Like she clearly states that the categories of astrology and astrology were not used by the ancients. We're doing, but we can clearly
right, next question.
You know what I'm talking about? Hey, this is what the fuck I'm talking about. Like,
we're moving to the next question.
Thank you. Jeez, so emotional. So, Sarah, when you mentioned proto-astrology, are you saying like pre-Greek astrology or just pre-reading the heavens for meaning?
Again, it's clear. It is clear. It can't get any clearer than that. Deification is not divination. So if you're missing understanding that,
no, okay,
like
stop.
I said already,
Okay, stop. Stop talking. Okay, you sort of answered the question. So here's the thing, though. You keep trying to make the distinction between divination, but the ancients didn't make this distinction. So when you look at places like Napa Playa, knowing that they are a cattle worshiping cult, why would you assume that they don't assign meaning to what they're looking at in the heavens?
Like I stated in
On
the
your
beginning,
own thoughts, your own thoughts.
we're going to operate off of assumptions. We operate off of scholarly work. To quote E.C. Krups, right? That was the first astronomical evidence. Now, you would need to provide us with evidence to indicate that there was some astrology taking place, like omens, like deification.
Yes. Okay. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. How many times I gotta say it?
Let me stop the time. Listen. This is funny to me because, and this is how the chin check session works. So now Doc, you do realize what he doing is exactly what you did.
How is it what I did? Would he tell me to stop? There was a delay when he was telling me to stop.
Y'all doing the same thing. It's a tactic. So what I'm telling you is, I understand the heavy breathing and all of that, but we got the same. Y'all doing the same tactic to each other. So Sid, when she say next question,
no, there was.
And Doc, if he's still trying to stall,
so I figure he's not anything.
Whatever your next question is.
Said so many times. See, like right now, you're going in and out. I don't know what you're saying right now at all.
I'm not saying anything. I stopped talking.
Are you talking right now?
I think it's the delay.
I don't know what's going on. You said, okay, so if there's a delay, then that's why I keep saying stop talking, because
that's what I said. I think it's the delay. So this is why I'm imploring y'all to just ask the question and allow him to answer it. Because
okay, cool. So my next question is, why would the concise the Cambridge discipline, if I'm not telling true?
What? I didn't hear the question.
Did you hear me?
No, I didn't hear the question. Can you repeat the question, please?
I said, why would the Cambridge Concise History of Astronomy say astrology and astronomy were the same discipline in the past if that's not true?
Now you're taking a random source, and that is not actually how we do scholarly work. So what you have to do is dig into the material.
No, actually, it's not random. Stop. You're not answering my question.
So I'm answering your question. You did not do your homework as you were supposed to do, because you didn't provide even a clear chronology.
We're gonna move to the next question. We're gonna move to the next question.
Can you hear me?
I'm waiting on you. Of course, you're going to interrupt me as soon as I start speaking, but go ahead. Can you hear me? I can hear you. Go ahead. So do know that deification is not divination, and you can't
say something, and I don't see my question. Then I'm going to say move on.
You keep going to rituals, which is talking about gods, and trying to do the bait and switch, and you can't do that.
We're gonna move on. It's not a bait and switch. We're gonna move on. So
go ahead, ask your question.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. So again, why do you keep implying Greek astrology when we're obviously talking about just reading the heavens, which all of the ancients did? And reading the heavens means looking for influence. That means for weather, for travel, for divination, all of those things. Why are you ignoring all of that?
So again, you probably misinterpreted the own definitions that you were using.
Hello.
Don't you know what astrology means? Astrology begins with omens, the divination. So deification is clearly not astrology.
No, it's not mine. It's not.
So again, your ignorance to the subject matter is on display, and insisting on using the category of rituals.
No, I'm not ignorant. You're just yelling. You talking louder doesn't make you right. You talking louder doesn't make you right. You're talking louder doesn't make you right. So you can stop talking now, or you can stop my time. One or the other.
I think everyone saw the
one or the other. He's just gonna keep trying to talk over. Hey, if y'all not gonna make this shit be fair, like we can end this shit right now.
Doc, you can't hear nothing we saying. I said your time was stopped. You said stop the time.
I don't know. Okay, well, how am I supposed to know if I can't hear y'all? Like, I can't.
That's the
I
question
can't hear
you
nothing,
got to
but this
answer because
nigga
it's
kind of
you the
overtalking.
one that can't hear.
So you're stopping me without being able to hear the answer? That's
No, I hear part of it and then I stop you. No, I stop you after you say something and I'm done with that. And then you just keep
exactly
talking. So I
after
don't
I
know
say
if
something.
you can't hear me.
So you don't even
I
want
don't
to hear
know
that.
if you can't hear me say stop talking
Anyway, go ahead.
or not.
Can you ask me another question, please?
No, it's not nothing that I can't take. It's the fact that you're not answering
You
my
need to
question.
fix your audio. You got to fix your audio.
I don't know what's wrong with my
I
audio,
can hear you
but
clearly. So
it
go
was
ahead.
just
Ask
the
another
same
question.
audio. Yeah, but I don't know. Like sometimes I hear you and sometimes I don't. So I don't know.
So why are you getting angry? Why are you getting angry when you say stop talking? If you can't hear him, and you, I'm confused as to what.
Because I figure he can hear me. Y'all saying y'all can hear me. So I'm like, if you can hear me, do you hear me say stop talking?
Right, but when you ask me to stop the time, I stop the time, and you still be going on a rant at the end. I'm doing what you asked. I'm saying time stopped. So once I say time stopped, there shouldn't be no more like what's the issue? I'm ready to start the time when y'all ready.
Yeah, please give me a question. I mean, and make it one that actually fits the narrative of the debate. So now you're shifting the goalpost into deification, and that is not the discussion. The discussion is divination, which is the concept of astrology.
Yeah, hold on. Let her ask a question. Can you hear us, Doc? Doc, are you there?
No, she fell off.
All right, she fell off again. Like I don't look. If the problem is on one end, I don't have time for no attitudes. Like it ain't my fault. I'm hearing fine. So when I'm asked to do something, stop the time, I do it. I'm not if the system is messed up, all that yakety yak, that's on you because your stuff messed up, not mine. Everybody want to talk shit and be smart, but it's your shit that's fucked up, not me. Check that shit before you come in here. The fuck is going on? Or at the very least, be humble as a motherfucker and understand your shit fucked up. So ain't no need of you talking shit to me. Everybody want to talk that professional bullshit till it's time to be professional. Shit. It's 3 minutes and 13 seconds left on the clock.
Hey, man. It's Ratchet, man.
What's up?
What's up? Man, I'm just trying to, we got this good debate so far, man. I hate the technical difficulties, man. And the little things getting tense around here.
Look, it ain't even about people have technical difficulties. Don't get no attitude with me because you having technical difficulties. All that shit talking after the fact ain't necessary. because I did what was asked. Ask the chat. Stop your time. I stopped the goddamn time. But you still talking shit. If this ain't how it's gonna be, I'm just gonna leave. Well, then fucking leave. I ain't got time for no crime. And your shit
DLG. Come on now, bro.
I'm past all the DMG shit. I'm past all this shit.
I'm not frustrated, brother. That's why you get paid that high amount of dollars, so you can put up with this, brother. So I know it's a little frustrating sometimes. Hear me out, man. Help me out, bro. Yeah.
Nobody got time for this shit.
So she's coming back up, right? She's coming back up, right?
Ain't no need of coming back up if her shit ain't fixed.
Yeah, but we got minutes. We got. Could we make this last little 3 minutes, man? Make it work. Come back up, Doc. What's gonna do it?
Did she fall off or did she leave?
I don't know.
She fell off because she didn't get kicked off.
Okay. Now we asked her, did she leave though? Or
if she left, then she quit.
I don't know, bro. We asked her. Yes. We asked the audience. Did she fall off or did she leave? What y'all heard last? I don't know. They could help us out, man. I'm just trying to stretch a little time. 2 weeks. See what's up. That's all.
How long we gonna wait?
Right.
But hey, give it 5 minutes, man. Come on, man.
And if the audio still messed up, hey,
can I get 5 for y'all? Work with me, fellas.
If the audio still messed up, then it's pointless.
Well, I'm here. I don't mind giving my closing because it's a worthy one. Because
let Ratchet try to resolve it, but like I ain't got time for a motherfucker coming up in here running their mouth with that smart shit to me. Like I ain't listening. I don't give a fuck who it is. All that yammer yammer after the fact when I'm sitting up here doing what every motherfucker asking me to do. Stop the time, and I stopped the goddamn time, and I still gotta hear this smart shit. Last I checked, I'm overgrown at 48 years old. I don't tolerate that bullshit from my kids. The fuck I look like tolerating that shit on my platform? And I'm doing what was asked. The fuck out of here.
Hey, we got 4 minutes till she come back, hopefully. And then DLG, you make whatever decision on it.
It ain't no decision to be made. If she ran, she quit.
No. You know what I mean. Go on with the show and end it like it should be ended. Put it like this. Put it like this. That's all. I'm trying to. I know you mad, motherfucker. I'm trying to just, keep the chill here, brother. You ain't did nothing wrong.
I don't give a fuck who think it's wrong.
I'm just saying you ain't did nothing wrong. So just, stay cool. You know how when you know you right about something, just stay cool. One of them type things, bro. Yeah. So man, go into a commercial break or something, bro. I know you got some debates coming up or something, bro. Play one of the videos top 10 or something, bro.
4 more minutes, but she left over 6 minutes ago.
Bro,
But No, when I watch this back, I'm not gonna get mad because I know it's a delay, but the delay ain't on my end. It's on her end. It's on her to fix her shit.
DLG, I'm gonna give her a call right quick. I'm gonna come back in and see if I call.
But if you know you got audio problems, don't talk that bullshit to me. That's all I'm saying. Listen, if I do what I'm asked to do, stop the time. I shouldn't have to hear all this slick talk when it comes to what I'm me not intervening in a Q&A. When you know you can't fucking hear it. Your system fucked up. Threatening to leave off and all that bullshit. What up on? Because you threatened to leave off, I'm supposed to capitulate to you? This shit's silly to me, man. Like, ain't nobody got time for this shit. Everybody want to complain and talk that stupid shit and then get up here and your system fucked up. How motherfuckers out here talking about they are multi-genius and can't get their fucking audio right.
How come the first 10 minutes there was no problem?
Yeah.
Just saying. First 10 minutes went smooth.
I don't know. If I'm a multi-genius, some fucking audio on a goddamn computer, I ain't like that shit. That's easy work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. People say they been trying to call her and tag her, so they told me to get her back on. So she's not answering. So, you know.
Yeah, let me close this thing out, take my belt and go.
All right, so I guess you quit. See it, close it out.
Yeah. Share my screen. Let me close this thing out. It's too easy. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of a debate that pits historical integrity against pseudoscientific speculation, like you just heard. Let's be clear, my opponent has built their case not on evidence, but on a narrative, a speculative reimagining of history, where astronomy and astrology were supposedly born together, evolving hand in hand as they were intellectually equal. But that's not what the historical records show. That's not what scholars like Francesca Rochwell, John Steele, and Alexander Jones have demonstrated through rigorous study of the ancient texts. And that's certainly not what the archaeology, the tablets, or the data tells us. I've shown with evidence that astronomy predates astrology, clear chronology with dates, not just by chronology, but by function. The earliest sky watchers wasn't casting horoscopes. They were tracking lunar phases, seasons, and celestial patterns to survive. She said that they were looking up to do magic. And what? Come on. This was observable, observational, not divinatory, practical, not prophetic. It was from this function that scientific astronomy would slowly grow. You see, it came out of astrology, on the other hand, is a secondary development, a cultural appropriation of astronomy's data, repurposed to meet humans' desire for meaning, control, and prediction. In the second round, I made it equally clear that astronomy and astrology were never conceptualized as the same discipline. Even in ancient Mesopotamia, they were where they both emerged. Yes, they overlapped geographically and temporally, but so did alchemy and chemistry. That doesn't mean they were the same. Astrology relied on astronomy, but was never its equal. It was never derived from the same motivations, methods, or standards. Where astrology sought to understand the cosmos, astrology sought to impose narratives onto it. My opponent's positions rest on misreading, cherry-picking sources like I tell you she would do, and wishful thinking. She is determining without any evidence what the ancients thought, dressed up as an ancient wisdom. It's a pseudo-scientific position that thrives on the illusion of mystery while ignoring the historical development of ideas. They'd rather collapse distinctions that comfort them. And in doing so, they flatten centuries of progress and intellectual refinement. So let's end with clarity. Astronomy is a science born from observation, evidence, and revision. Astrology is a system of beliefs born from interpretation, assumption, and cultural storytelling. To conflate the two is not only inaccurate, it is intellectually dishonest. And that's what we saw here tonight. With that, thank you for coming out. Give me my belt. Call me champ. I'm a bad man. I'm a pseudo slayer. All day, every day. Easy work.
What's up, Rex?
Oh man, I'm just this to the close out, man. I thought you were gonna do something, bro. Say it. We still gonna have to go and see what's up. What we gonna make this? Was it actually official?
No.
Hello, say it.
Don't even try it. Do not even watch it. Do not even try it.
You don't even know what's going on.
She ran party over, doing nothing to talk
about. We don't know that officially said.
None of your nonsense. You stopped me from doing what I needed to do in the last debate. Now you're coming up here with this bullshit that fuck all the way out of here. Don't let me flip on you right now. Do not let me flip on you. You turn your screen on. You declare me the winner, and let's be over with it. I ain't down for no bullshit. I ain't down for your bullshit. Matter of fact, we gonna strike up on the pseudo killers. I'm out. I don't see the play. You full of shit.
Say hello.
No.
I'm talking you, bro.
I'm gonna tell you in your face, not behind your back. You full of shit.
Say, can I talk to you? What do you mean, though, bro?
Give me my shit.
Don't go nowhere, Sid. Don't go nowhere, Sid.
Are you crazy?
Don't go nowhere, Sid.
Are you crazy?
Ratchet. We gotta get to. Let's go to Super Wave. He said, "Don't go nowhere." What's up, Super Wave?
All right, yeah. Uncle said, "Don't go nowhere." Peace, Uncle DMG. Peace to the panel. Peace to the chat. Peace, Uncle Craig. Peace, Uncle said. Hey man, I feel like it was a great debate. I think we at like 10 minutes, the 10-minute mark that she been gone. So I mean, it's pretty much over, Uncle DMG, man. Let's drop that link and get the crowd opinion, man. I felt like it was a good job. At the end, I'm gonna just say this, Uncle DMG. Maybe in the second round it was some conviction issues. That last go round where she cut that attitude with you, there wasn't no delay at all. There wasn't no delay. When he was talking and she wanted him to stop talking, she kept saying, "Be quiet, be quiet." So she heard what he was saying. He heard what she was saying. There wasn't no delay. I think if anything, she could have called in and finished it if her computer crashed. So it's just, you know what I'm saying? We gotta move a good character, guys. We gotta understand that the moderator ain't picking sides. He trying to do the best job and not be in y'all way. I finished right there.
I'm trying exactly Super Wave. I'm trying to let them rock, but what started irking me is, first of all, y'all doing it's the same tactics in the chin check session. So he really ain't doing nothing you ain't do. But it's like this motherfuckers got to talk shit, and I like look, this just ain't the night for that type of shit. So I'm not in the mood to have shit talk to me when I'm complying with all this bullshit. So I done watch motherfuckers for weeks talk shit, and I ain't said shit. Talking about me, my platform, and all this bullshit. And I'm trying to be a fucking professional. But all of a fucking sudden, these motherfuckers be so goddamn, they be Sherlock Holmes in this motherfucker. They the world's greatest at every motherfucking thing, but they can't even get their fucking audio right. But they want to talk shit to me. Hey, listen, I'm telling every motherfucker involved with this shit. If you can't take being wrong, get the fuck away from me. Period. I'm talking about when it comes to your character. If you know you at fault for something, don't try to put that shit off on me. I ain't got nothing to do with your audio situation. None of that. So I'm up here doing what I gotta do in terms of moderating this shit. I'm talking to Ced, answer the question, ask the question. Same thing I did when he was asking you questions, but all of a sudden, you gotta run your fucking mouth. Like I ain't doing my fucking job. So if anybody that debate on this motherfucker got a problem with how I conducted myself, go debate somewhere else where your ass gonna have lint in your pocket when you go in that motherfucker, and you gonna have lint in your pocket when you get out that motherfucker. If you don't like how I'm conducting myself.
Yeah, as far as the strategy, guys, when y'all doing that chin checking round, when y'all question each other, you know y'all both gonna do the same tactic. Goddamn, that's the most popular tactic when you okay, you off topic, let me hurry up and cut you off. Everybody gonna do that. We understand the tactic. You know what I'm saying? And I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt that maybe her computer crashed. But all I'm saying is she could have called in. You know what I'm saying? So that says a lot right there. And we probably going on 15 minutes right now. So all I'm saying is that computer, that chin checking round, we know what's going on. Y'all both got the same tactic. This is my first time seeing Uncle DMG eyes, man. My first time seeing your eyes, Uncle DMG.
Yeah.
Hey, say, let me holler at you real quick. Say it. I'm trying to invite you over to the after show, brother. That's why I was about to say so. I was trying to get to the after show. We had the after show right after this. So come on there, John Super Wavy. And everybody.
Yeah, look, my bad, man. I forgot about the after show. So look, everybody that's here now, matter of fact, let me get the link to the after show, because we don't want to bog down. It's been bogged down enough.
It'd be bogged down enough. That's why I'm trying to go with it. That's why I'm trying to go with it.
Let me say I appreciate the opportunity. It was building up to be a great debate. I know what the chin check session is, right? So you notice I asked my question, he did a thing, there was no complaint, I didn't ask for anything because I know what I'm dealing with. So I structure the way I approach it, right? Because I know what I'm dealing with. So you got to be prepared, because it is that chin check session. I'm gonna cut you off, I'm gonna make my point, I'm gonna hammer it home, I'm gonna do all. It is the chin check session. That's what it's there for. The work was already done in the first and second round. She insisting on creating a false narrative that she couldn't support, and I think that's why she ran out.
Look, y'all hit that link. Link is in the chat. Hit that link and meet us over at the Aftermath, and we'll sort this thing out. But it is what it is.
Hey, Ced, what's good with y'all? Ced, one, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I don't know what the PSEUDO talking about in the chat. It is a certain thing as proto astrology. I'm from the show me stay, yo. I'm from the loop to it, and I show it. You know, I don't play with it. You know, so I slide.
Hey, let's go over there, y'all. Everybody popping up over there.
To my brother from the loop. I gotta drop a bomb. I heard somebody say that.
Original.
Hey, so it's another show that we can weigh in our thoughts.
Yeah. Come over. Everybody go over to the after show. The link is in the chat.
Okay, yeah. I'm there, fam.
So
I am clicking the right
hop in. Ratchet, go over there so you can let me know when we start getting some bodies over there. And
all right.
And that way I know when to end this.
Okay, I got you.
We got another feed or we staying right here?
Nah, we going over there. We going over there. Hit the link. Link is in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, I'm in.
Here we go with the blame game shit, because it's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah, that's crazy. Anyway, I appreciate it, DMG. Great job.
For sure.
Great job. Beautiful.
For sure.
Man, that's why I'm over here. The way you hosted, your energy, the way you start the show, I'm sitting back here getting fired up, bro. I appreciate you, man. To have you deal with this bullshit, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Nah, you good, Doc. You good. You good. I appreciate you, man. We'll see you over there at the aftermath. Everybody go over to the aftermath. Link is in the chat. And she had every opportunity to come back up. Didn't nobody tell her she couldn't come back up? I'm just tired of the fuck shit. Like now it's everybody. I wasn't even on the goddamn face off. I ain't had nothing to do. Like, that's what I'm saying. Somehow I get linked to shit that ain't got nothing to fucking do with me. For weeks. The fuck I got to do with a face-off that I ain't even host? But it's they this and they that. It just ain't the night for this shit. Link is in the chat. Go over to the aftermath. Go over to the aftermath. I still see 45 people in here. I shouldn't see nobody. I'm waiting for this to trickle down. I want everybody to go over to the aftermath. Go over to the aftermath. Link is in the chat. Everything somehow come back to me on some bullshit. Like what the hell is this? I control other people's audio. Stop the time, I stop it. But everybody got to keep talking that goofy shit. Like what? I'm not the one. I don't know what y'all thought, or who y'all thought, but I'm not the one. All right, I'm assuming y'all got enough people over there. I'll put this link in this chat one more time. Even though I still see 30-some people over here. Y'all ain't got to keep watching me. Go over to the aftermath. Link is in the chat. Link is in the chat. It's trickling down. Go over to the aftermath. I'll see y'all over there. But, all right. Super Wavy say end this joint. I'm going to end it. Let me get on up out of here. We ain't gonna even do the intro. Outro, I mean. End stream.